Ariel Helwani post-fight at Strikeforce in St. Louis with Strikeforce CEO Scott Coker. And Scott, what a night for you guys. 3 vicious knockouts. You know, we talked earlier today about ending the year with some momentum. You have to feel pretty happy with what you guys did out there tonight.
Yeah, very happy. I think we've had some great fights in 2010, and it's been a real, a building block year for us. The roster is looking better than it's ever looked, and I think tonight we had some of the most amazing fights, amazing knockouts we've had, ever in Strikeforce. So it's a historic day for us.
Let's talk about Dan Henderson first. A very nice comeback win for him after what transpired in April. How important was this win for his career? Because he looked a little sluggish out there the first time out.
Yeah, I think that, to him as a fighter, it was very important. For us as a promoter, it's like, it's kind of like we let the chips fall where they fall, and then and then the deck gets shuffled and we stir up the pot from there. But for him, I'm sure it was a very big win, and he told me that, he needs to have a good showing tonight, and I think he proved himself once again that, he's the guy that knocked out Vanderlei Silva, knocked out Big Sping, and had all those great fights in Pride and rings before that in the UFC. So he's a legend in our sport, and we're very happy to have him on board with Strikeforce.
At this point, you like seeing him better at light heavyweight as opposed to middleweight?
I like him. I think he's comfortable at 205. I think that I think he ran out of gas at 185 because he had to cut so much weight. So at 205, he can eat. He feels healthy, and he still he's got that power. He just has that freakish power. So as long as he wants to fight at 205, we'll probably keep him there. We got some great fights for him. I think the big fight with Rafael Feijão, but Gegard's in that division, King Mo's in that division. We're gonna have some good, and Mike Kyle, he's gonna come back into. We're gonna have some big fights for him.
I know you hate when we ask you what's next at the post-fight press conference, but is you mentioned Feijão. Is that the thinking here, that he might be next for the title?
Yeah, I think that's that would be the natural fit, I think, for the next fight. And I know Feijão wanted to fight anybody. Dan's willing to fight anybody, but I'm gonna let see. Timing's an issue sometimes, and Dan hurt his hand a little bit today, and so let's see how long he's going to be out, and then we'll definitely be having that conversation.
When you were on the MMA Hour just recently, I asked you about Paul Daly and sort of taking a gamble on this guy who was unceremoniously released from the UFC after a low blow, so to speak, after the bell against Josh Koscheck. Seeing what he did out there tonight, do you feel as though okay, we've been vindicated here, this wasn't a gamble, the guy is worthy of fighting on a stage like this?
Well, I felt comfortable because Paul has fought, like I said, when we did the co-promotion with Elite XC, and then he fought for Elite XC when we did, didn't do co-promotions with him, but and I was there watching, and he has, never had an issue with being like the bad boy and causing trouble and fouling people. And so I think it was an isolated incident, just like the football incident a couple of days ago. So, that's past him. I think he's learned his lesson, and, now he's onward and forward.
He really wants KJ Noons next. What do you make of that fight?
I mean, KJ I think he has to decide whether he wants to stay at 170 or go to 155. And he's still healing up for the Diaz fight. And when he heals up, we'll have that conversation with him.
Do you think Scott Smith would be better served going back up to 185?
Boy, that's a tough one because, at 185, there's a lot of other big guys there that hit just as hard or harder. And, I'm going to sit down with Mike Roberts and Scott and see what they want to do because, that was a scary knockout. And, I'm not saying that, he should retire, but I think that he has to have a conversation and see, what is he going to change? What's going to be different? Because, at 185, it's, there's a lot of real, Robbie fights in that division, Jacare fights in that division. And it's, we're going to have a conversation.
Speaking of scary knockouts, Matt Lindland, at this point, I mean, does he even have a future in Strikeforce? It seems as though he just isn't the same kind of fighter that he once was.
Yeah, that's a situation where, Ariel, I feel that those fighters have to sit down with their families and their camps and have that conversation, and it's a tough conversation. But, again, that's the second time I've seen him get knocked out in a scary situation. And, that's, we're not in this sport, to have people get hurt, like that. And if he's not, I guess what I'm saying is if he's not going to, rebound and, show us something different, then, we'll have to have a conversation.
Mike Kyle seemed almost emotional up here, talking about the chance that you gave him on short notice to fight a guy like Bigfoot. And then you mentioned that his stock rose in defeat. Why do you think that?
I thought he almost won the fight. I mean, there was a point in the fight where I said, oh, my God, he's going to beat Bigfoot. And, Bigfoot's, I mean, they call him Bigfoot for a reason, right? I mean, the guy is huge. He weighed 265 or 4, but he was dieting to get there. And I bet you tonight he was probably close to 280. And, Mike, he's a big puncher. He's a big 205-pounder. But he was training with Cain Velasquez, and Javier and Bob said, "Hey, put him in, and we'll put him against anybody." So we let the fight happen. But when I think of Mike back in the old days when he's fighting, even at King of the Cage, I used to follow him at King of the Cage because he used to fight out of San Jose. I always thought, God, this guy's a big guy. He's got a lot of potential, very athletic. And I just think that if you look at his last 10 fights, they're better than his first 10 fights or his first 20 fights. He's just getting better and better and better. And have an undefeated record other than Fabricio Verdum, who, come on, the guy submitted Fedor, right? So he's the king of submissions right now. And he has a lot to not feel bad about. And Mike will be back, and we'll have him back.
We're hearing chatter about Mike Kalmusasi. Is that the direction you're thinking?
Well, we were, but I think that Mike has to heal his hand.
Right.
Then so now the deck gets shuffled a little bit differently now, right? So that's we'll see what happens with Mike.
Okay, and let's end on OSP beating Benji Radic. Ovin St. Preux. What do you think about that first round? Do you think the fight should have been stopped?
I mean, it's according to the statistics. I mean, on the on the CompuStrike, there might have been a good argument for that, and I don't want to second guess the officials and the judges, but it sure seemed like there was a lot of striking going on, and sometimes I think that when they think about Benji, they think, okay, well he's a guy that on paper should probably win this fight on paper, so they give him the benefit of the doubt so he can come back, but I don't know, he took a lot of shots tonight.
You announced tonight, January 7th, a challenger show. Tyron Woodley, Tarek Safadine, Daniel Cormier will be returning. Also, you announced January 29th in in San Jose. Any fights that you can talk about that is going to be on that San Jose card?
Not right now, but we'll have an announcement next week.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good to see you, Scott. Congratulations on a great event.
Let's say one thing, guys. Strikeforce finished out with a great year, and keep supporting Showtime. Thank you, Ken Hirschman, for giving us the opportunity, because this has been something that's been a dream to have these big fights, and I feel like we're very grateful to have you continue to support Strikeforce.